I do.
Yeah.
And when I get home, I'm like
Yeah.
completely lazy. I don't want to
Yeah.
clean. I don't want to do anything but try to recover. It's my job to give 100%. And I feel like, you know, I've been allowed to do what I love for so long. I love my job, so the least I can do is give my all. You know, you do the same.
If we get to the bottom of Tupac's when that is finally revealed, 15 other will be revealed with it. And you will find that they were all committed by the same two people, father and son.
Jaguar Wright is speaking again, and the carefully constructed story of Blue Ivy's birth is coming apart in real time. The rumor that was once dismissed as internet noise now carries a name, Kathy White. And Wright is not a random voice. She was laughed at when she spoke about Diddy, called crazy, and dismissed entirely, until lawsuits and federal charges prove she had been telling the truth all along. That pattern changes everything. It transforms a dormant conspiracy into an active crisis. And it means the family's most protected origin story is no longer safe.
Think you're cool?
Blue, she be fronting on me a little bit, but I catch her.
The Diddy validation is the engine that makes this moment different. When Wright first made her claims about Sean Combs, the industry treated her as unstable. Years later, the documentaries came, the indictments followed, and the details she laid out were confirmed by evidence the public could see. That means dismissing her now carries a risk that was not there before. So, when she sits down and says Beyonce did not carry Blue Ivy, when she names Kathy White as the biological mother and points to an incident that happened under circumstances no one has fully explained, the response is not laughter. It is a pause. And in the vacuum of that pause, the story starts to move. Kathy White was real. She was a PR consultant and fitness coach who moved through the elite circles of the entertainment industry, appearing in photographs at exclusive events where the biggest names gathered. She passed away at 28. The cause was reported as a brain aneurysm. That is the documented version. What makes her passing part of this story is not just Wright's claim that White was the woman who carried the child who became Blue Ivy. It is that her passing sits at a point in the timeline that forces questions, and those questions have no answers. The absence of information becomes its own kind of pressure.
And that's the problem that I have with this whole situation. But I am going to save this conversation for Jay-Z. Jay-Z, you're watching. I know you're watching because you got people calling me. Stop having people call me. You can call me yourself. You know how to get my number. You know you got people calling me. Call me yourself because this right here is going to go viral. The way my job works on the internet, everybody's going to be clipping, sharing on TikTok. Watch.
That pressure sharpened when a journalist named Liz Krogan reportedly came forward with a detail that changed the shape of everything. According to what has circulated, Krogan had an interview scheduled with Kathy White in the days before her passing. White was preparing to speak publicly about something serious. The interview never happened. That is the fact of it. Whether the timing was coincidence or something else is not something anyone can prove. But it is also not something anyone can simply ignore. A young woman connected to a powerful couple passes away, and a journalist who is about to talk to her suddenly has no one to interview. That pattern creates an implication that no denial can erase. Beyonce addressed the surrogacy rumor directly in her 2013 documentary. She called it the most ridiculous thing she had ever heard. The denial was clear, delivered in her own voice, framed as the defense of a mother who had lost a pregnancy and was finally carrying her first child to term. That should have been the end. But the denial was followed by behavior that worked against it. When Blue Ivy was born, Lenox Hill Hospital locked down an entire floor. Security measures went far beyond what even celebrities typically require. The cost ran well over $1 million. So now the official story says nothing was hidden, while the documented actions show that secrecy was extreme. That contradiction did not settle the rumor. It became the fuel that kept it burning. The visual that started everything still exists, and it still does not look right. In 2011, Beyonce appeared on an Australian talk show visibly pregnant, and when she sat down, her dress folded in a way that made viewers stop and rewind. The clip spread, slowed down, analyzed frame by frame, and debated in every corner of the internet. To this day, It is the concrete anchor for the alternative narrative. It is not something someone heard. It is something anyone can watch. That footage, combined with the hospital lockdown, the $1 million security bill, and the family's documented pattern of total control over their image, creates a foundation where doubt no longer feels like fringe speculation.
Real? Some people are actually accusing her of wearing a fake baby bump.
You know, there are certain things that are so far that it doesn't even upset you. My mother, she's like, nobody's talking about my grandbaby. My grandbaby's not.
Wright's voice does not exist in isolation anymore. Her credibility has already survived one cycle of dismissal and vindication, which means the public is primed to take her seriously. The cancelled interview with Krogan raises the possibility of a silenced witness, even without proof of anything beyond timing. Kathy White's passing is a documented fact, not an invention. And the family's own defensive reactions, the denials paired with extreme secrecy, have already been framed as cover-up evidence rather than closure. Each of these elements alone might be dismissed. Together, they form a pattern that will not settle. And that pattern is now tightening around the Carters in a way that feels irreversible. The old playbook is not working. Silence, denial, waiting for the news cycle to move on. Those strategies assumed the story would stay abstract. It is not abstract anymore. The accusations come from a source who has already proven she knows things. They involve a real woman who passed away young. They are accompanied by a timing coincidence that raises questions no public statement can answer. The fortress that Beyonce and Jay-Z spent decades building is showing cracks. And the cracks are spreading because the control they once had over their private narrative is no longer absolute. What makes this moment unstable is that the story cannot go back. The questions are out. The name is out. The pattern is established. The family's denials are now part of the evidence against them. Their secrecy is now cited as proof of guilt. And Wright's track record means that even without hard proof, her version of events carries a weight it never had before. The result is a situation where the family cannot win by speaking and cannot win by staying silent. Every move they make gets folded into the same pattern: defensiveness, cover-up, something to hide.
There are people who did short sales on their stocks right after that, made a lot of money, including Sean Carter. Now I'm going to ask you, why would non-disclosure agreements need to be signed for an accident?
That pattern now extends beyond the original rumor. Wright's credibility, the incident, the cancelled interview, the visual footage, the security spending, none of it lives separately anymore. It has become a single pressure system pressing on the same point. And the point is this: the story of Blue Ivy's birth was supposed to be settled. It was a miracle after a loss, a moment of joy, a foundation stone for the family's public identity. But that foundation is no longer stable. The questions are not going away, and the answers are not coming fast enough to stop what is building. The questions are multiplying faster than the denials can address them. If Wright was right about Diddy, what are the odds she is wrong now? If Kathy White was about to speak and then passed away, what does that timing mean? If the family spent over $1 million on security for a routine birth, what were they protecting? These questions do not have answers, but they also do not need answers to do damage. The suspicion alone is enough to keep the story alive. And the suspicion is now embedded in a pattern that has been validated before. What happens when a family that built its brand on perfection faces a counter-narrative built from a source who was right when everyone said she was wrong? A woman who was about to speak. A cancelled interview that looks like something from a thriller? The answer is that the control slips. The fortress starts to crack, and the story stops being about what happened in 2011 and starts being about what else might surface. The pattern suggests more is coming. Wright has hinted at it. The journalist has not spoken. The incident has not been explained. The family's silence is becoming louder than their denials ever were.
I love the fact that we work in an industry where we get to meet people that we actually are fans of. We don't become people who don't have special celebrities to them because we work in entertainment. Like,
we love certain people too.
We love certain people, and Beyonce is definitely probably the one and only at that level for me.
The machinery that built the Carters' empire was never just about music. It was about silence, purchase narratives, control, and a fortress so high that nothing was supposed to get through. But fortresses crack from the inside first. When the people closest to the throne start behaving in ways that look less like loyalty and more like damage control, the story stops being about what might have happened in a delivery room 14 years ago. It becomes about whether the architecture of secrecy was always the problem. Tina Knowles wrote about the pain of watching her daughter endure public scrutiny after private loss. She framed herself as the first line of defense, the mother who would not let the world tear her family apart. So, when she appeared to engage with a social media post tied to her son-in-law's legal troubles, the response was swift and familiar: hacked. The account was compromised. The message was clear: nothing to see here. But in a story where every denial has been turned into evidence, a family matriarch's digital footprint, even one that vanishes within hours, becomes part of the permanent record. The explanation was clean. The image left behind was not.
At that time, I remember thinking, I can't be mad at her because that is what the media
A hacked account is the industry standard for a public relations emergency. It requires no proof, no follow-up, no admission of anything. It is the move of someone who needs the story to disappear before it can be analyzed. But the story does not disappear anymore. The audience has been trained by years of similar explanations to see the pattern. So, when the mother of Beyonce, Tina Knowles, appears to signal something and then claims she never did, the response is not relief. It is a pause. And in that pause, the question becomes whether the breach was real or whether the response was the real performance. Inside the Carter's orbit, the pressure is not staying contained. Anonymous sources who claim proximity to the family have started feeding the rumor mill with descriptions of a household under siege, of conversations happening that were never supposed to happen, of a strain that goes deeper than the public statements let on. These sources cannot be verified. They are the kind of material that would normally be dismissed as noise. But the context has changed. When a source with a proven track record has already been validated, when an incident has already raised questions that will not be answered, when a journalist's cancelled interview already looks like a pattern, the whispers start to feel like the next layer. One voice has broken through the noise in ways that cannot be ignored. Jason Lee, a media figure with ties to Rihanna and the industry's inner circles, has made public claims that he stopped something major for Beyonce. He says he was never thanked. He says he has the receipts to prove what he knows. The claims are vague, impossible to verify, the kind of thing that would normally be dismissed as self-promotion, but they function as an open promise, a signal that someone out there knows more than they are saying and might eventually decide to say it. That promise changes the math. It means the story does not need new facts to stay alive. It just needs the possibility that facts exist.
And it was pretty much said like, Jay doesn't really want awards. Well, he go to the Grammys.
Right.
He come into the Black-owned spaces. Let's figure out how to work together so that way we have the relationship when it matters, not when it's convenient for you and your image. Because they all call us when...
The weight of that possibility is amplified by the way the family's own creative output has been pulled into the field. Beyonce's music was always layered and dense, with meaning open to interpretation. That was part of her genius. But now those layers are being read through a lens that was not there before. Songs that touched on themes of loss and letting go, on things taken too soon, are being re-examined by listeners who once would have dismissed any suggestion of hidden meaning. The shift is subtle but permanent. It moves the story from the gossip columns into the fandom itself, where the audience becomes a participant in decoding meaning. And once that happens, the story becomes self-sustaining. The documentary Confession about Miscarriage was supposed to be the closing argument. It was raw, honest, emotionally devastating. It made Beyonce more human, more vulnerable, more real. That vulnerability was supposed to close the door on any further questions about her pregnancy. But now it serves a different function. It establishes that the stakes were real, that the journey was not easy, that the emotional investment was total. And because those stakes were real, the alternative story, that something was hidden, that extraordinary measures were taken, that the birth was not what it appeared, gains a foothold it never had before. The truth of the loss does not close the case. It makes the suspicion feel possible. What is happening now is that all these separate threads are converging into a single pressure system. The insider hints, the social media slip, the unrevealed receipts, the music that reads differently, the emotional weight that cuts both ways. None of them alone would move the story. Together, They create a gravity that pulls everything toward the same unresolved center. The family's control over their narrative depended on keeping these elements isolated, on making each question seem like a fringe obsession. That control is slipping because the elements are no longer isolated. They are becoming a pattern. The timing of these developments matters as much as the developments themselves. They are arriving at a moment when the legal system has produced outcomes that look clean but leave questions behind. A high-profile case against Jay-Z was dismissed, presented as exoneration, a victory, a clearing of his name. But dismissals do not always mean what they appear to mean. They can mean settlements, exhaustion, a willingness to walk away without resolution. The public does not know which version is true, and that uncertainty becomes a vacuum, and vacuums get filled by whatever story is already in circulation.
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to
that existing story is now being fed by forces the family cannot control. The same people who were once dismissed as conspiracy theorists are being quoted in mainstream coverage. The same rumors that were supposed to fade are being revived by new details. The same denials that were supposed to close the case are being cited as evidence of a cover-up. The machinery that worked for so long is now working against them because it created a world where the absence of information looks exactly like the presence of something hidden. Every silence becomes a confession. Every denial becomes a confirmation. The people who know things are not all silent. The journalist who was supposed to interview Kathy White has not spoken, but she exists. The media figure who claims to have receipts has not produced them, but he says they exist. The family's internal fractures, glimpsed in a social media moment that was quickly erased, suggest that the united front is not as solid as it appears. The art that was once celebrated is now being interrogated for meaning that was never intended. And the questions that started this whole thing remain unanswered. The pattern is not closing. It is widening. That sense of unfolding carries a specific weight because it echoes something that happened before. Years ago, Jaguar Wright made claims about another powerful figure in the industry. She was dismissed, mocked, written off as unstable. Then the lawsuits came. The documentaries followed. The federal charges landed. The industry that laughed at her had to watch as the details she laid out were confirmed by evidence that could not be ignored. That pattern created a template. It means that when she speaks now, the audience is not asking whether she is telling the truth. They are asking which parts will be confirmed later.
You're a halfway intelligent person. When do you start questioning how lucky some keep getting?
Right.
The template applies to more than just Wright. It applies to how the public now reads every new detail that surfaces. The hospital lockdown, the security bill, the journalist's cancelled interview. Each of these was once presented as coincidence or routine. But the pattern from the Diddy case taught the audience that coincidences in this world are rarely just coincidences. That lesson has changed the way information is processed. What would have been dismissed 5 years ago is now treated as evidence waiting for context. The burden of proof has shifted, and the family's defenders are playing defense on a field that no longer belongs to them. This is what makes the current moment different from any previous cycle of the story. The machinery that once controlled the narrative is now being used against it. Every denial is catalogued. Every silence is logged. Every defensive move is cited as confirmation of guilt. The same precision that built the Carter's brand is now the reason the brand is cracking. When an image is so perfectly maintained, the smallest imperfection becomes a crisis. When a fortress is so carefully guarded, the first breach makes people wonder how many others exist. The perfection was always the vulnerability.
I mean, why waste my time?
And sometimes you respond to something that brings way more attention to it, too.
That too. And it's just, it goes into another space, and then you just like, are y'all not listening to me?
Right. But then you'll have somebody else that'll say that.
The people watching are no longer waiting for a single piece of evidence to break the story. They are watching the pattern build in real time, adding each new detail to the file, waiting to see how far it goes. The journalist who cancelled the interview has not spoken, but her silence is now part of the pattern. The media figure who claims to have receipts has not produced them, But his claim is now part of the pattern. The social media moment that was erased and explained away is now part of the pattern. The art that was once celebrated is now part of the pattern. Nothing disappears anymore. Everything becomes a thread. That means the story is no longer about proving what happened in 2011. It is about watching what happens next. The pattern suggests that the people who know things are not all going to stay silent forever. It suggests that the pressure building inside the fortress will eventually find a way out. And it suggests that when that happens, the questions that were dismissed for years will finally get the answers that were never supposed to come. The story is not closing. It is accumulating. And the only thing that seems certain is that the accumulation is not finished.
How excited is your husband about this baby?
You can only imagine. And multiply that. It's like the time can't come fast enough.
I think you should enjoy this time while you can.
I'm trying my best, but I'm still anxious. I want to hold the baby.
When a family builds an empire on control, the moment that control slips, everything changes. The questions that were once dismissed as ridiculous become the questions that will not go away. The people who were once ignored become the people who cannot be ignored. The fortress that was supposed to be impenetrable becomes a case study in how the walls come down. The story that was supposed to be settled becomes the story that is still unfolding. What do you think is still being held back? Does Jason Lee have what he says he has? Or is the promise of receipts just another layer of the performance? Drop a comment with your take. The pattern is still moving.